Hi everyone, hope you're okay and you've had a really good day. I'm going to read the next part of Emma Carroll's Secrets of a Sun King. I've decided to skip a little bit of the last chapter because not a lot happened and we need to crack on with this story. So this is now chapter 13. They've made their way across Europe on the train and they've arrived in Greece, in Athens, and they're going to get a ferry which takes them from Athens across to Egypt, across the Mediterranean Sea. Okay, so this is chapter 13 of Secrets of a Sun King. At breakfast the next morning, a strange telegram arrived. It was the latest from Mrs. Mendoza's contact in Cairo, who kept her up to date on events in the Valley of the Kings. In the few days we'd been travelling, Mr. Carter had been worryingly busy. He'd cleared 16 sunken steps, at the bottom of which appeared to be a sealed-up doorway. That was in the tomb in the Valley of the Kings. Yet today's message had a rather queer ring to it. That poor canary, was Mrs. Mendoza's first reaction on reading the telegram. We all stopped eating our breakfast. Apparently, Lady Evelyn, that's Lord Carnarvon's daughter, brought a canary to the dig so they could check that there weren't any poisonous gases before going inside the tomb. Did the bird die? I asked. Apparently, a snake killed it, Mrs. Mendoza tutted. Hardly thrilling, though, is it? How am I going to write a lead story about that? What sort of snake was it? Oz asked, looking up from his book. He never ate in front of other people, Tulip told me, yet he happily came to every meal just to sit there and read. Does that matter, darling? But she read the message again, her finger trailing under the words. Bird bitten by cobra. Death almost instantaneous. Carter and Lady Evelyn trying to calm anxiety over possible curse. Death shall come on swift wings, Tulip reminded us. Looks like Mr. Carter knows about the curse, but he's being block-headed and refusing to be scared off by it. More fool him, I thought grimly. Isn't the cobra a protector in Egyptian mythology? I asked. Oz nodded eagerly. Uraeus, the rearing cobra, guardian of kings and queens. Sounds to me like Tutankhamun's curse is trying to keep the archaeologists out, said Tulip. I hoped it succeeded. At least until we got there. Mrs. Mendoza, though, looked positively cheered. You've given me a story, darlings, so thank you. And she went off to type it up. Later that day, the train made a stop at a little country station. Oz said it was in Yugoslavia, though I wasn't sure how she could tell. The platform was empty, but for an old woman selling lemonade. Looks like someone's joining the train, I said, pointing to a motor car that pulled up just as we did. Whilst Tulip and I were speculating on who was in the car, she thought a film star, I reckoned a spy. Oz announced he wanted some lemonade, so I said I'd fetch him one. By the time I'd done so, the motor car had dropped its passenger and driven off. The man now on the platform was young, thin, not very remarkable looking, so probably more a spy than a film star, I decided. Slopping lemonade, I hurried back to our part of the train. But not before the man called out to me. I say, where do I get on for second class? Because all of a sudden, there wasn't a train guard in sight. I pointed further down the train to the big second pointed on the door, but he seemed a bit confused. He had 2 suitcases and a bag that kept slipping off his shoulder, and a not quite there-ness that reminded me of Dad. Tulip was beckoning me furiously to hurry up. Thinking it the quickest way to get back on the train, I took the man to the second-class door, then hopped in behind him. Almost straight away, the train lurched forwards, and we were off. Thanks for your help, the young man said, touching his hat brim. He had a straggly beard and a nasty scar under one eye, but his smile was a nice one. Finally, a guard appeared, asking to see our tickets. I didn't have mine on me. Where's your destination, young miss? The guard wanted to know. I'm going to Luxor, I told him. Are you? The young man perked up hearing this. Then I hope you'll be keeping an eye on Howard Carter. Though he smiled as he said it, I'd heard enough about Mr. Carter to detect an edge to his voice. I'll still need to see your ticket, the guard interrupted. Who are you travelling with? With Mrs. Mendoza in first class, I explained, and her children, Oz and Tulip. I can fetch my ticket if you like. The guard was actually quite jolly about it. The young man, though, who showed his ticket all fair and square, looked so very startled I felt sorry for him. Are you all right? I asked him. Have you got on the wrong train or something? What? No, I'm fine, thank you. He smiled his nice smile. Keep an eye on Carter, though. Oh, I will, I responded. And I gave him the lemonade because he looked in need of it. 20 hours later, we finally reached Athens. Just as we got off the train, a new telegram arrived for Mrs. Mendoza. My heart sank when I saw who'd sent it. It's from Pemberton, I whispered to Tulip. We've been rumbled. Tulip's mouth tightened. A sign she was annoyed. I don't believe this, man, Mrs. Mendoza cried, shaking the telegram in disgust. What's he saying? Tulip asked. He's pretending I misunderstood him. Mrs. Mendoza exclaimed. Doesn't he remember the telegram he sent last week? Now you need to remember that Tulip sent that telegram, not Mr. Pemberton, to Mrs. Mendoza, because Tulip needed to send it in order to get them off to Egypt. Oh, it's probably just a mix-up, Tulip said quickly. I didn't know how she kept so calm when my insides were squeezing like a mangle. Mrs. Mendoza snorted. Well, he's ordering me back to London at once. The stupid fool says he's already sent a replacement man to report on the Carter story. I was horrified. We couldn't go back with our tails between our legs. Not now, when we come all this way. As we stood there fretting, I caught sight of the second-class ticket man again. He almost looked like he was coming over to speak to us. Then Oz turned around, frowning, which seemed to put him off. He touched the brim of his hat before melting into the crowds. It really must be a mistake, Mama, Tulip was still saying. All your tickets are booked. So someone at your newspaper obviously knew you were coming. Let's keep going. We're only a boat ride away from Egypt, I pleaded. But it was Oz who said the exact right thing. And Mr. Pemberton sent another man, Mama. Mrs. Mendoza straightened her shoulders. He can stuff his orders. We're not going to be beaten to the best story by some young pup, are we? I can't tell you how eagerly we agreed. The telegram goaded Mrs. Mendoza into action, so she's dead determined now to get there because she doesn't want someone else to get the story. Instead of stopping in Athens overnight, we were now carrying straight on to Egypt. There were no more passenger sailings that day, but Mrs. Mendoza refused to wait till the morning. I'm a reporter chasing a story, she reminded us. By the time we reached the port, it was raining. A cold wind had picked up, and beyond the harbour walls, the waves were white-topped and rather large for any liking. The English Channel had been relatively flat. Just the look of the sea today was making me queasy. A few US dollars later, and a man with an enormous moustache agreed to have us on the boat. As soon as we got on board, it was obvious we weren't the only cargo. From the hold of the ship came sounds of bleating. The smell was eye-wateringly bad. Ugh! Tulip pinched her nose. What's that stench? Goats, Mrs. Mendoza said cheerily. I was, my stomach was beginning to tell me, not a very good sailor. But at least we were moving. At this rate, and if we got a decent connection to Cairo, we'd be in Luxor by Sunday. By my reckoning, this was a whole day earlier than planned. It was less smelly in the fresh air, so we stayed up on the deck until the boat left the harbour. Surprisingly quickly, the coast of Greece shrank away behind us. What replaced it on all sides was the sea, as dark and steep as mountains. Though I clung on to the handrail for dear life, I'd soon had enough of being battered by spray. "I'm going to lie down," I told Tulip. "I'll come too," she agreed. Our cabin was basic. The bunks were bare mattresses. The windows, little, misted up portholes, but at least there was a slop bucket in the corner which, if my stomach was anything to go by, I would need to use very soon. Oz was already here. He'd commandeered one of the bottom bunks by spreading out Alex's old Egyptian books, his own sketchbook, pencils and pens. "How can you read in this weather?" I groaned. "Easy," he replied, without even looking up. Outside it was getting stormier and darker, and it was only still mid-afternoon. As Oz kept on reading, Tulip and I lay on our bunks, lolling this way and that way with the waves. Every now and again there'd be a massive one that made your stomach drop, like you were going over a bridge. All the while, I tried not to think about food, which for me was very unnatural. Okay, I'm going to leave it there for now. Thank you for listening. Don't forget, if you're enjoying our videos, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our page. I will continue reading the second part of chapter 13 of Emma Carroll's Secrets of a Sun King next time. Have a great day tomorrow and I'll see you soon. Bye!